Before we get into the video, I'd just like to say thanks to everyone for subscribing and tuning in this year. It's been a blast making YouTube videos this season. We'll definitely continue to do so, doing FPL if you haven't seen at the moment, NFL as well, sports tech. We're getting into that, but yeah, just massive thanks to everyone that's tuned in, like the video, subscribe, because yeah, it's been an awesome first year, and I'm really looking forward to the next years and beyond. And just to any crisp truthers, look down the bottom there, D11, and I mean, come on, and average, I can't even find him. D22. It's all right, George. Look, you can give up now, mate. He's not good. But on to the video. G'day guys, welcome back to another video with Enno here from Fantasy Take TV. This is the last round review of the year. The year is over, round 23, and it's time for the finals. Got the TIG scarf on. Boys have done it. They've got in good form too, so hopefully we can take that up to Brisbane. Unbelievable sort of last couple of weeks. Been amazing games this year, and then top it off with that game yesterday. The Blues just not being able to get it done. Was hoping they would, to be honest, so I could watch the Tigers at the G, but wasn't to be. The Pies just find a way again. I just don't know how. But for SuperCoach, yeah, it's sort of just a bit of a dour end to the last couple of weeks to the season. We're making quite a lot of jumps each week, and then just the last 2 weeks are sort of stagnated. I think I dropped 20 spots last week, and then 19 this week. So literally just on the dot part of the last couple of weeks for my rank, and haven't been able to get any higher, I think. But 2,435, lost the cash league granny against Bonetta. So well done, mate. You got me in the end. I think the main Dawson let me down with the 70, and Dylan Moore. I thought Dylan Moore was stiff for his score as well, to be honest. Kicked a couple of goals. Had about 98 Dream Team or something, but only scored a 70-something as well. And then, yeah, he had Walsh out, Paul, on the Sunday, but he was able to change that with the new update trade. And I think he knew he was going to win from then, and just blocked Jack Steele, because Jack Steele was a pod for me as well. So he just, smart move from the man, blocked him, and then just sort of won by, I think, 30 points or something in the end. So congrats to you, mate. At least I get my money back, but you get all the glory. So yeah, finished 2,609 for the year. Not the greatest year, but I think where we were at one point, 30k or something in round 8 or whatever, you take that. You take being able to sort of get just around the top 2k, top 3k. So not the greatest year, but on to the next, I guess. But we'll quickly look at where the team finished up. Maybe some things I could have done differently, and I'll quickly scroll through the trades as well. I haven't gone into too much detail or thought about them, but I thought we might scroll through them as well. Sinclair, been unreal. The only thing you could say is I wish I picked him up earlier, but got him for about 550 or something around the buy, and he's just been awesome. Obviously, has been susceptible to a few tags, but he's been able to work through them actually really well. Got tagged on the weekend, still able to get a 118, so he's been really, really good. Just finishes actually as D1. I see there. I get a head assist. Dawson was a big chance as well, but he had a bit of a stinker this round, and finishes just a tick under 110 for the year. So, but still, absolutely stoked to have started him and been in my team all 23 rounds. Sicily, I wish I could say the same, but we did still get him fairly early. I think about round 5 or 6. We'll see in a sec. I can't quite remember, but he's been awesome as well. Could have been a monster game from him. He was almost tunning at half time, but sort of slowed up in the second half. Doc as well, can't fault him since getting him as well for the last month. Once Hewitt went down, he's been unreal. So, he's been in the midfield a bit and playing really well there. So he was close to best on ground yesterday. Probably Cripps, then him were immense for Carlton. Dacos just been a great pick all year as well. Found his way to stay my side all season. 91 average in your debut year is pretty cracked for a young kid. So 500k he finishes on, and He did slow up towards the last couple of rounds, but he had a monster 5 or 6 weeks there for us, which was huge. Shorty's bounced back, had a couple of tons the last couple of weeks, so he's almost finished the year on 100 average. And to be honest, look, you always take the 22 games from someone like him. He's durable, but to actually get moved into the midfield, which I honestly never saw him doing. We drafted him as a forward. He wasn't too hot as a small forward. Moved him back. He was great there. Almost all Australian, one of best and fairest in a premiership year, but then to throw him in the midfield, I wasn't too confident with it, but he's actually worked through it pretty well to be able to, especially SuperCoach, but in general, I think he's actually been quite a good move in there. But yeah, look, finishes the year just a tick under 99 average. Played every game. Massimo and Rory Thompson, just a couple of bench options we ended the year with. Obviously, Rory Thompson never found his way back into the team. The midfield, Clary, looks just someone we should really have started. So a lot of us made that mistake and got him in at a pretty, not hefty price, but I think it was 620 or something, 630. After he dropped a really big score on Richmond, but he's just been a great captaincy option all year. Took worked himself back to a 120 average. We were sort of not doubting him, but a bit disappointed early on how he was playing. But he's worked back in the back half of the year very well, very well. And I think he's M3 on the year. He would be, or probably M4 because of lead. So he's been really, really good. Track, been a bit up and down. It's a roller coaster track with his scoring and his performances, but for the most part, he's been very good for us. Neil, just unbelievable season from him again. He's clearing away the Lions' best player. He honestly, fair chance for captain, I think, with all that Zorko debacle, but that's another story. But looks to be a big chance for his second Brownlow in 3 years. Merritt, been unbelievable pick up for cheap in the second half of the year. One thing I actually did mess up, and you might have seen it actually, I'm not sure if it was on my vid, but I had Took VC into Merritt captain, and it would have got me the Cash League win, but I didn't stick through with that. So he was immense on Saturday night, absolutely everywhere, and he's just been really good. I mean, obviously always susceptible to a tag. When he does get tagged, he doesn't handle them too well, and we saw that the last couple of weeks. But good to get that from him. McRae, very interesting case, McRae. I think it comes down to the Dogs and what they do with Dunkley, what they do with a couple other guys. But I still think he's a great player. I just think, the midfield time isn't there as much as it has been in years gone past. And we'll just have to, see how, have a look at the landscape next year in the mids, because next guy, Jack Steele, going to be cheaper than him with only a 109 average for the year, so he'll definitely be heavily looked at, probably in every team, if I'm honest. And then Brayshaw, we just looped him just in case he was getting tagged, which he did, but worked through it nicely and eked out a ton. But I went Cripps to Brayshaw about 5 or 6 weeks ago, and that hasn't, I think I've probably lost points on that as well. So that's a bit annoying, but it is what it is. And then Owens and Clark on the bench there. Owens looks a player. Think he'll get a lot of games for St Kilda next year. Witts, bought, much like everyone, I think, bought him for about 620k, and it just looked, it probably still was the right option. It just because there hasn't been any other ruck options really, that have stood the test of the season. And Shrek's honestly been one of the other ones to have that's actually played, besides what I copped early with him getting, didn't play round 1 and then rolled his ankle round 2 and then a concussion in round, 5 or 6. Besides that, he's been durable and played every game outside of that. So, he's probably one of the best ones to own. He just has been really inconsistent with his scoring. And then, Lob's been in and out. Meek's been in at times, which affects his ruck time. So, depends what happens next year with Freo. They're getting Luke Jackson. I think it's pretty likely they are, as far as I'm aware. But, if that happens, I think we don't really go to Shrek, obviously, unless he goes somewhere else. But it's always fun owning the big fella, and he has those monster scores in him from time to time. And the forward line, not the most optimal forward line, as you can imagine. Obviously, the big glaring one, Will Brodie, missing him for the season. I'm sure I've heard me say it a number of times. Pretty much stopped me from getting top 1K. I think getting Brodie in at some point, even if it wasn't at the start, would have pretty much guaranteed me a top top 1K finish. So it is a bit annoying that one man can have that much effect on a season. You wouldn't have thought, but he definitely has, and just got to be better in future in being aware of those picks and picking them up. But for the most part, I think I've done quite well here. Bont was obviously, I guess, dunks we all started. Parker was pretty obvious in the end as well. Whilst I did miss a couple of monster scores because I was about 2 or 3 weeks not late, but I just couldn't get him at the time. I think everyone else did. He's been, pretty decent. Dylan Moore was good for us the first 2 weeks with easy matchups, but, he has been in and out of the midfield. He kicked a couple of goals, and as I said at the start, I think he was stiff with his score on the weekend, but is what it is. English has been much of a nightmare, really. The fact that Heaney was the one that made way for him, and he's probably outscored him by quite a bit, especially since English has had to sit on the bench for a couple of those weeks. And then Baz. Don't know why. I mean, the options were Taranto or him, and I think I haven't done the maths, but Taranto can't have been that much better anyway. He missed a week too, Taranto. So the fact that at the time I think I really wanted Rosie, I was about 10k short, and Baz was the next best. Just sums up the year, I guess. Rosie's been on a tear, and was someone I even had a look at weeks and weeks and weeks ago, but just was unable to get, and he just continued to be in a roll. So that's the season. Paul Curtis been great at times for us. Used his cover a couple of times, and Maurice is in a really good form for the Tigers. So that's the team where it finishes. We've had 0 trades for a couple of, I think two of the last 2 rounds, and whilst I probably didn't need them, it would have been nice to maybe make some luxury trades and get a better primo, probably a forward primo, to be honest. And then, look, the midfield obviously led as well is the big one that's missing from there. But we've spoken too much. Let's just quickly go through some trades and see what what we're looking at. I'll go season rank. So I've said it, round 6 or 7, I was about 30k. So the fact that we've been able to mount a charge, and then last 2 weeks have just stagnated big time, is unfortunate, but I'll take that from where I was. You absolutely take that on a given year, and then here's how we sort of fared week to week. The team value, I think that's pretty unders as far as I'm aware. I think most of the top guys and people that have done well are well over 14 mil. So it's been a big year. A lot of value picks have worked, and we've just missed too many of them. So I think the big ones, Sicily not in the starting team, Cripps not in the starting team. Even English was really good early, and we sort of got him late and didn't do the same for us as he did for everyone else. But I guess we'll start with the trades. Round 3 down the bottom here with the first 2 changes. And whilst Whitfield and McGovern out were the right calls, I think Heaney, you can't say Heaney was the wrong call either. He was quite good for us and should have been a hold for the most of the season, really. But Bowie, whilst he was good, it wasn't Will Brodie. So obviously at this point, I probably should have just gone Will Brodie and not even made any other moves, really. McGovern to Brodie, I think, is what most people did do. I just was really, really not concerned. I just didn't believe in, firstly, in the pick and just the time on ground and his role going forward. Fife was out of the team, was tipped to be back in, a few weeks, but that obviously dragged on, and Brodie showed what he can do on the inside, really good contested ball winner, and showed Freo that he has to be in there, and they had to keep rolling with him, whether, it was still 60% time on ground, but it was 60% time in the midfield per game. He wasn't anywhere else on the ground. He wasn't resting forward like other mids do, or out in a wing or anything. It was, bench on the ball. So you've got to sort of, in future, I think it's a lesson learned for me anyway, is just delving deeper into a pick. I think, don't just read time on ground as purely just the whole picture. There can be differences, and I guess we don't have every stat readily available to us, but it was quite obvious that he was pretty much just full-time mid, and they were going to manage him well in games to get the best out of him, and they did that really well, and he's had a super season. So that's the big one. Round 3 not getting him, and I guess you could say the next 2 rounds still, or a few rounds not getting him anyway, even at a more expensive price. Stevens out for BJ Williams again, just stupid trade. BJ, I thought he would be solo rucking. He was, but he's just not good enough to do it. And look, funnily enough, he scored, I think, 130 this week, just to really rub it in, that showing that he can actually do it at some point. And that's probably all I needed was one score like that. He would have kickstarted some cash gen and made it at least worthwhile. But I fielded him for a couple of 30s and 40s, and it was just absolute nightmare. Next is Grundy out with the injury. Rao, who sort of stagnated, and Bowie, who made me about 110k. So not the greatest, but to get in Steele, Sicily, and Bruce, it looked really good at the time. Still went nuts for a few weeks. Sicily was obviously the great pick that he was, and Bruce was the great cash cow that he was. But Steele went on to get injured in about a month or so, and he dropped a couple of 70s, I think, before that too. So that turned into a bit of a disaster, especially paying 640 for him as well. Could have got led at the time. That would have been awesome. It's just, sliding doors moment that you can't change. But that is what it is. Cherry, he got injured, I guess. Everyone had to get rid of him. McCartan, he was an early trade out, shouldn't have done that. And then BJ had to go, really. He wasn't doing anything. For Hayes, Sam Hayes, that is, who was a good cash cow. Clary, we all had to get in, and Clark as well, who was decent, and then he got injured himself. But I think those trades are fine. Just McCartan out early if he went on to make another 100k or so that hurt me a bit. Horn Francis out, Hayes out, that's the Jack Hayes, and then Dixon out as well. So sort of just worked these guys to get Cripps. Eventually caved, getting Cripps, and by God, he only averaged about 100 in my team. And then when he went out later on, you'll see, and he went on to average about 120 for the last month, not in my team as well. So just real funny how that worked. Missed his early 130 average, got him in, averaged about 100 for me for about 2 months, got him out, then he went back to 130. So just a guy I just don't want to touch again. I don't want to think about him. Great play, just he's done me dirty in SuperCoach many a times, and I've done it to myself again. So that was a pretty average week. Berry out here. This is a good week here of trades. I mean, good and bad, I guess. Ward out, had to go. McDonald, some people had him as cover for the year, but he wasn't making money. DC in, so great trade here, jumping on Darcy Cameron for Berry at the same price pretty much. I just saw it as a straight swap that Cameron could go on to make more. Berry sort of wasn't doing what we needed him to. Carroll and Rioli, though, they were just two rookies that just weren't really required. I mean, Maurice has come good, and I actually really haven't used him, but in the round we needed him, which was that middle buy round, he didn't play, so it just turned out to not be too necessary. We could have maybe just held McDonald or whatever and done this later, or done another trade down the track. And then here's where Steele had to go out injured. Hinge, I went out as well. And then Owens, funnily enough, went out of my team because I held him all this season to this point, and then he came back in a couple of weeks later, but got in Track and Baz Smith here. So this again, Track, can't really say was a failure. He's had a pretty good back half, up and down, of course, as I said. But Baz, we predicted the forward time and the DPP, which he did get. He just burnt me quite a bit, by getting suspended, and then I, for some reason, got him back in the end. Witts, we've spoken about. Bruce and Nick Martin, great cash cows, so that was fine, I guess, but Witts obviously just really expensive. And then this is a big one, Heaney out for English, and having to get Owens back in for Carroll just to field 18 that week. And Owens, I think, got 20 and got concussed. So it's probably a trade that I could have saved there by just, copping a donut for a rookie score that's going to be 40 or 50 anyway. The trade's probably worth more than that in the end, and that's something to think about. I know for that week you're going to take a hit, but the trade can be really, really valuable towards the end of the year. So I think there's a few wasted trades here on rookie swaps is probably my main takeaway so far. Other than not getting Will Brodie, but that's probably the main takeaway. Baz had to go here. SDK was really, really good. And then McComb made some decent cash for Merritt, Sinclair, and Clark. So I think these are great 3 trades, great ins. That was a really good week. So, maybe if I just went Baz, someone else other than Baz the weeks before this would have saved a couple more trades there. Sammy Hayes had to go. Durden made some decent cash in the end, and then Clark got injured, I believe, for Teakle, Massimo, and Bont, so had to get the Bont in. Did that, was really good trades. Butters injured. Stevens was still hanging around in my team, and then had to get Parker in again. Good trades. Stu got suspended, so that was annoying having him all year and having to get rid of him. Got Steele back, and he's been okay in the end. Steele, he had one poor game last week, which was mind-boggling, but been okay outside of that. Cripps to Brayshaw, thought I was getting out of Cripps just looking terrible, and he's managed to turn it around with, I guess, more mid-time. Hewitt's been out, Walsh out at times, Cherry out at times as well, and he's been able to sort of play a lot more midfield time, and Brayshaw just wasn't as good, got tagged a couple of times as well. Hewitt to Doc, that worked really well, and then DC to Dillmore. So at this time, I think I was still priced out of Rosie, and then again, Cogs had to go. I had no cover that week to cover Cogs, so I had to get someone, and Baz was probably the best option I could afford at the time. So look, there's a few good, probably a lot more bad. I think a lot of the primos I got in were fine and good decisions at the time. I guess Cripps going out probably wasn't good in the end. Getting Baz in didn't work, but again, I can't really fault that. Heaney out, I guess, probably was a bad one for English. That didn't really work too well. Steele hurt me a bit, getting injured early in the year and stuff. But I think for the most part, it's not the worst trading history. It's just a lot hasn't panned out, as good as it could have. Himmelberg's another one we didn't jump on at the time. I think that probably would have been the best go. I couldn't afford him back up here when I was getting rid of these forwards. It would have had to be earlier, somewhere around here. But, I still think Bont was a better choice. Parker was a better choice at the time. But yes, I think we move on. Talked about it for too much, but podcast tonight we'll do a recap on there as well. Moreira's Magic is jumping on, and hope you guys had a good season, got the rank year after, and we'll look forward to next year, bigger and better things. For myself, try to push for that top 1K, which has been, I think, about 2 or 3 years now, probably 3 now since 2019 that I've entered into that. So, need to get back there. Hope you guys had a good year. Catch us in the Discord for sure as well. FPL starting, or has started, and NFL is starting soon. And a lot of guys in the Discord are all over that, so me included. We'll see you in the next video, guys. Probably FPL review tomorrow night. But until then, have a good one. Cheers. Got the mojo deals, we been tripping like pulling out the coupe at the lot.